You're watching Chicago Bears now, just a couple of minutes after their 21-9 loss in the NFL wildcard matchup against the New Orleans Saints. Not enough offense. Story of the game in this one, down 7-3 at the half. Couldn't get going in the second half. Literally scored their only touchdown of the game on the last play of the season. I got a bunch of thoughts on this one. I'll get to some of your thoughts as well. Use hashtag Bears or Super Chat. We already have a few lined up, so appreciate that. Before we get into some deeper conversation, deeper thoughts on this game, and really on the season as a whole and moving forward, because the season is over, who do you blame for this Bears loss? It's hard to blame one person. I think just the offense as a whole has to be blamed, and really it all started with that Javon Wims drop. Javon Wims dropping that football really set the tone for this game because the Bears had a chance early to take advantage of some opportunities. The Saints offense was, stalling out. It wasn't doing great, but Javon Wims dropped that ball on that trick play, and the offense really never got going after that. So let me know, who do you blame for this Bears loss? Cast your votes down in the comments section. We'll work some of your questions in here. Delirious129 says, it's time to blow it up in Chicago. I can understand that thinking because the Bears are kind of stuck in a spot where they're good enough to be competitive and even make the playoffs despite going 8-8, but are they good enough to be a contender? The answer right now is no. And the reason the answer is no is they don't have a good enough offense and they don't have a good enough quarterback. Mitchell Trubisky is a okay starting quarterback. He's okay. He's probably about the 25th best quarterback in the league. And that sounds bad, but it's really not as bad as it sounds. Like there's 32 teams. He can probably start for a couple of them. Right now, he can start for the Bears because they don't have any better options. But you're not going to get to where you want to go with the current state of Mitchell Trubisky. You can't win a Super Bowl with Mitchell Trubisky. You just can't. You can make the playoffs. You can beat bad teams like the Jags. He can look good against bad teams. But what did we see the last 2 weeks? What did we see the past 2 weeks? We saw Mitch Trubisky not play that well against good competition. We saw it again today. That was a big problem in this loss to the Saints. So at a super chat coming in from Simon, who replaces Mitch this offseason? It's a good question. It's a really good question. Do they bring him back? Do they draft somebody? Do they go sign or trade for somebody? Trubisky today, 19 of 29, $181 and a touchdown. And keep in mind, a lot of that on a meaningless 99-yard touchdown drive on the last play of the game when the game's out of reach. A lot of that yardage came there. He was 10 for 19 for 109 yards before that final drive. Not nearly good enough to win a game of this caliber. So they got to make a decision on Mitch. Do they draft someone? Do they bring Mitch back? I'll say this. If you bring back Trubisky, and we'll let you answer this question. We'll make this the pinned comment on today's video. Should the Bears re-sign Trubisky? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know down in the comments section. We'll go ahead and pin it right there. But my thoughts are that if you bring him back as you continue to get your votes in, you have to bring him competition. You can't approach this offseason as, hey, Mitch is the guy no matter what. He's the starter. Not even a competition in camp. That doesn't work for me. And when I say bring in competition, I don't mean Nick Foles. I mean draft a quarterback in the first round. I mean trade for somebody. I mean sign for somebody. Honestly, I would just go in a different direction. Trubisky's tried hard. He's competed. His effort has been valiant since re-entering the starting lineup. But at the end of the day, he's not good enough. He's not going to get you where you want to go. Now, there's other factors. You could blame some of the play calling. Maybe Matt Nagy, isn't as good as we initially thought early on in his tenure. Maybe Bill Lazor's not the right guy as the offensive coordinator. I don't know. What I do know is, against good competition, Mitchell Trubisky has not played at nearly a high enough level, and he's going to have to play better if the Bears want to be a contender. I'm not convinced he can, so they're probably going to have to go in a different direction moving forward, and we'll see how that happens this offseason. That's why you guys should subscribe to Chicago Bears Now, because we'll cover it all here on the channel. Got another super chat from Samuel. This team is a joke. Everything that has happened over the last 2 decades has been terrible decisions, and another one is going to happen since Nagy will get hired again, which is great times. What do you think has to happen? I get you guys hate Nagy. I don't think he should take the brunt of the blame here. I do think he should take some blame, and I think he should acknowledge that he's got to do a better job. That being said, what quarterbacks has he had to work with since taking over? Here are the list of quarterbacks who have played since he's been the coach of the Chicago Bears. You ready for this? Mitchell Trubisky, Chase Daniel, Nick Foles. That's the list. That is the list of quarterbacks who have started since Matt Nagy's been the head coach. He hasn't been perfect. He hasn't been great. He has made the playoffs 2 out of 3 years. I think that counts for something, even though they went 8-8 this year. Nagy deserves blame. I think he's going to come back next year, though, based on recent reports. We'll wait and see this offseason, but I would love to see what he could do with a legitimate franchise quarterback. Get subscribed to Chicago Bears now, because even though the season is over, our coverage is just beginning. Rumors, news, offseason coverage, free agency, draft, quarterback stuff. We're going to cover it all. Hit that big red button and subscribe. The link is below, youtube.com/BearsNow. Share that with all of your Bears friends. Let's continue to grow this channel as we close in on 20,000 subscribers. You did mention Nagy here. Let's talk about the defense and Chuck Pagano for a second. I think we should give this defense credit. They held the Saints to 21 points in this game. I thought they battled. Even at the end, you get a goal line stop there. I do think it's possible Chuck Pagano is the scapegoat of this team. I don't think getting rid of Pagano is enough, but I do think it's possible that they do get rid of Pagano. I know some of you guys want to fire Chuck Pagano, and if you do, you can spam F in the comments. I'm not going to blame you for that. Spam F in the comments if you've seen enough for Pagano. I'll say this. My takeaway from this game is not that Pagano sucks, because the defense played hard all day long. They just didn't get enough in the offense, but there's been some red flags from this defense down the stretch this year, and I definitely think it's possible that the Bears go in a different direction on their defensive coordinator. So if you want Pagano fired, spam F in the comments section. Matthew Rivera, should we get a completely new front office? Let me take a sip here. I think Ryan Pace has to go. You got to get a new GM. Ryan Pace, too many bad decisions. You know, you traded up to get Trubisky. Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were available. You picked the wrong guy. I appreciate the aggressiveness of going after a quarterback when you like a guy, but when you pick the wrong one, you deserve to be criticized. He hasn't been good enough. He overpaid for Robert Quinn. I actually agreed with him on letting Leonard Floyd go, but now Floyd's having a Pro Bowl season. You know, he's made too many key mistakes as a GM. You have to make more good ones than bad ones, and I think he's made more bad ones than good ones. I think he should go. I'm down with Ted Phillips being gone as well. I do think there does need to be some new direction in the front office. Ryan Pace cannot be this team's GM moving forward, in my opinion. We got Chicago Bears face masks available at chatsports.com/Bears masks. We'll put this link in the comments and in the description. A lot of these are on sale, some even as high as 75% off. Look, if we want to go to games next year at Soldier Field, it's possible that you still may have to wear a face mask, so why not get one that represents the Bears while it's on sale? chatsports.com/Bears masks. That's chatsports.com/Bears masks. Again, that link will be in the comments. It'll be in the description. Get yourself a Chicago Bears face covering on sale today. Mohammed, more Matt Nagy stuff. Matt Nagy has to fire the whole coaching staff and bring in a good coaching staff. Now A-Rob is leaving. We'll focus on Robinson. We've talked about the coaching here. I don't think Nagy's getting fired. I think Pagano could. We'll see about the rest of the offensive staff. Allen Robinson needs to come back. If you let him go, just rebuild. Because if you're still trying to win right now, I don't care who the quarterback is. If Darnell Mooney enters the offseason as your number one guy, you're in trouble. You are in big trouble. I like Mooney as a number 2. I think he can be a good number 2 speed type guy moving forward. Just re-sign Robinson. Can I get an extend AR, please? I believe we have that question in there somewhere. Extend AR. Make it happen. Maybe we'll have to change it to re-sign AR now that the season is over. But for one final time, extend AR in the comments. Ryan Pace, you're a joke because you haven't been able to get it done. I hope he comes back. He's a culture guy. He's a really good player, top 10 receiver in this league. If you can get a good quarterback and a more consistent offense in here with Robinson, the sky is the limit for this offense. We'll continue with a couple more notes here on this Bears season wrap-up after their loss to the Saints. Samuel Lackey's got a super chat. How do you feel about the schedule coming up this year? Looks super tough with the Bears. Will they be back in the playoffs? And what needs to change? Well, we've talked about some of the changes, right? Quarterback. What are you going to do at quarterback? That's the biggest question mark. Front office and coaching questions as well. What do you do there? Then obviously Allen Robinson. Those are the 4 things I'm keeping in mind. As far as the schedule goes, Bears got the AFC North next year. That's going to be tough. Pittsburgh's always good. Baltimore's a damn good team. I don't think Cincinnati will be a joke next year if Joe Burrow can get back and get healthy. And Cleveland's a playoff team. That'll be tough. NFC North with the Packers is still going to be competitive. I think Detroit will improve next year under a new coaching staff. And Minnesota should bounce back. So not going to be an easy year. The Bears finished second in the North, so they'll play all the second-place teams in the NFC. So that means in the NFC East they'll get the, I believe the New York Giants finished second technically. I think you feel fine about that opponent potentially, but who knows? They finished strong this year. NFC South, you'll face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers again. That won't be an easy one. NFC West, you'll get the LA Rams. You lost to them this year, so this is going to be a tough schedule. There's no doubt. AFC North is a tough AFC conference, and that's who the Bears got in 2021. What is the probability of getting Deshaun Watson? We will explore a lot of quarterback rumors this offseason because that's the question, right? Could they make a play for Deshaun Watson? How about Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo, the draft, Dak Prescott? Do you keep Trubisky? Like, there's so many different options for this team, and they got to really sit down and ask themselves, can we win with what we have? I think the answer is no. I don't think you can get over the hump with Trubisky. He's a guy that can get you to the game, but he's not a guy that can win the game. And that's the difference, right? That's the difference between the Aaron Rodgers and the Drew Brees and the Trubiskys is that those guys consistently get to the playoffs and they're consistently winning at least a game or two. Trubisky's 0-2 now. Played really well in the game in 2018, but we all saw how that played out with Cody Parkey. But, he's just been inconsistent since then. Bad 2019, up and down here in 2020. This Bears front office really has to ask itself what they're going to do at quarterback this offseason. So we'll leave you with this as we wrap up for the final time in the 2020 NFL season. What will the Bears' record be in 2021? We kind of broke down the schedule for you. We'll dive deeper into it, obviously, when we know the official schedule, times and dates, and all that stuff. Subscribe. Predict the Bears' record in 2021.